quick question for Dr. Patel and Rabbi Thompson, and open up to everybody here. The response in what happened in Ferguson. There has been a kind of nice interfaith community that has traveled there, particularly immediately after what happened last August. But publicly, people are mostly seeing Christian and black Muslims being present there. What do you think, in your traditions, you would say to the young people protesting in Ferguson right now, who are feeling heartbroken, who there's great distrust of not only police but local government there, are feeling unheard, who are afraid for their own lives, yet want to do something about it with action, social action? Is there something within Judaism, something within Hinduism, that could bring a kind of a soul force to them?
These are really good questions, and the last one's a great question as well about diversity within tradition. I think the one thing is that this is maybe a recurring thing that I'm saying from the previous thing, is that the previous question. That in general, I found that people who are actually really religious don't really have problems with teaching. I think there's some other stuff happening, in terms of what people associate with being religious. I mean, Mom touched on this a little bit about linking up social things with certain kinds of ways of being, which get linked up and create complexities. So just to, I think one of the things is that it's a difficult question. The one that you just asked. The one before that was a little bit easier. Because it was about options. It was about recognizing perfectly good options. That if one can have that kind of consciousness, that they might not be ideal to what you would do, but that they're okay, they're perfectly good options, and that can lead to something. So in situations like this, perhaps, where social action needs to be kind of galvanized, I think there is something where if we can kind of bring, and this is one of the good things about religion, which of course thinks complexly about human beings as complex beings in need of empathy, because they're suffering and they're struggling, is that you start recognizing that you can contribute a kind of calm voice, recognizing that everybody has some point of view there. Everybody has some point of view. There's something which is needs to be honored and respected, and then, of course, critiqued from the point of view that you start recognizing where the particular kind of reaction to a legitimate feeling is causing hurt and pain. So on both sides. So I think that could be a contribution. Now, actually, what does that mean in actual action? We often associate action with doing stuff, but sometimes doing nothing is meaning being a calm voice or just a calm presence in the middle of storms is a lot of action there. So I don't know how that would manifest in actual action. How to be active without churning. That's a hard thing to do in the world, and maybe some of it is not really. I'm being profound. Love from your side. No, but there's something. This is a hard thing. I think every tradition is grappling with how to something, because we can't be active in every situation, and yet being religious means being active all the time. And so how do we? And often we don't identify quiet behavior, quiet being religious as being religious. We often think of it as associated with rituals, associated with speeches, rhetoric, but there's got to be something there. So I don't know how we would deal with the situation, how Hindus or Jains or Buddhists would deal with Ferguson, but part of it would be sending calm feelings out in that direction, if not actually being on the ground.
That's a profound action.
To cite the Alliance Understanding trip again, it was really a life-changing trip. And that's something you write when you're applying to college. Life-changing really doing that.
Shout out to everyone who just got into today.
But I think part of the trip at the end of the day, we would kind of debrief and talk about larger issues. Hearing other sides, specifically of the Ferguson question, different sides, gave me a much deeper understanding of it than I had from reading articles of having fun together and learning things, at the end of the day, having this conversation and talking seriously about the situation there is huge for me. And if there'd be any way to promote more of that, I think that's a big step forward. It's coming Friday night is Passover. So the way the text is currently traditionally read at the Passover Seder, at the Passover dinner, it's called the Haggadah. And it starts off with the first line is in Aramaic, Kol Tichtin Yeseh V'Yechol. Let all those who are hungry come and eat. It doesn't say, let all those who are hungry, here's $50, here's money, here's charity. It's come and eat with us. And I think that message, that let's sit around the table and let's talk, and then we can have real conversation. Let's talk, come together, and we'll agree on everything. We'll come around for dinner, and then we'll have a conversation.
Any questions anyone thinks?